So now I'm going to turn it over to Jack and Rhonda to kick off our presentation.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Rhonda Greene, and I'm a Principal Solutions Consultant here at AvidXchange. I've been at Avid now for almost 11 years, held several different roles, but today I enjoy spending time working with prospects who are thinking about AP and AP automation, longtime former AP manager. So it's definitely something that I've been very passionate about. And now I'll turn it over to Jack so he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Rhonda. My name is Jack Clarke. I'm a senior solution consultant here with AvidXchange. Work alongside Rhonda to really help customers understand how our solutions are going to work, especially with their accounting systems and their current processes. So been working with the Microsoft channel for about almost 15 years now. So hopefully we can address any questions and give you folks a good understanding of what AvidXchange can do for you.
Thanks, Jack. So now we're going to get started. And let's talk about the agenda. So first, we're going to do a quick review about what we learned in 2022, and then we're going to talk about 7 storylines to follow in 2023. And then I'll turn it over to Jack, who will do the AP automation with the AvidXchange portion, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. So let's talk about what we've learned. 2022 was a relatively good year. I think we're still, feeling maybe a little bit of the aftermath. I know the hybrid workplace has definitely come as a result of the pandemic. Still talking to companies about that. But basically, business is good, for now. There was a consistent wave of positive news for the middle market. RSM and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce reported that the majority of the middle market businesses enjoyed gross revenue growth throughout the year, while both hiring and employee compensation increased. Those numbers proved the strength of the middle market to maintain growth. The momentum of these positive trends entering 2023, sadly, is slowing. Fewer companies are reporting revenue increases and more are expecting a drop in net earnings. So in this presentation, we're going to cover the ongoing and expected trends that we believe will have an outsized impact on business in 2023 using survey results from nearly 500 finance executives and senior leaders. So number 1, inflation's looming impact on vendor relationships. So companies have survived the higher costs of goods and services from their vendor networks by passing those increases downstream to their clients. But that strategy may not work forever. With the recession still in play in 2023, firms will likely have to make some tough choices regarding their suppliers and their costs. At the very least, they may ask themselves, are my suppliers impacted by supply chain challenges? Are my suppliers delivering on the terms agreed upon in our contracts, and are they charging fair prices? And are there other options out there that better fit the needs of our businesses? So depending on the answers to these questions, there could be some uncomfortable discussions that may strain the relationship between buyer and vendor. However, this exercise is critical to uncover costs and find the vendors that allow a business to succeed. So important. So inflation's looming impact on vendor relationships. So really to better understand business sentiment entering the new year, we surveyed 500 finance execs and senior leaders in January of this year, so earlier this month. And we found out that 59% of middle market companies ended a vendor relationship after a delay in the delivery of goods or services due to supply chain issues. And that definitely tracks with what I've been hearing out in the field. 61% of middle market companies ended a vendor relationship after an increase in the cost of goods or services directly attributed to inflation. And 46% of middle market finance leaders said that more than half of their suppliers increased their prices in 2022. So it goes without saying that not only are we seeing that as consumers in the retail space, but businesses are also facing those price increases. Hybrid work is here to stay. This is something that I talk about quite frequently with different companies that I'm working with to kind of figure out what their model is and how it works for them. But after nearly 3 years of working from home, flexibility has become standard. People are expecting it. So it's no secret that companies are also starting to view it as a cost-cutting opportunity in the current economic environment. As companies make a more permanent shift to hybrid work, it's important to invest in the right software to enable seamless transitions from home and office. Anticipating challenges with remote hybrid work include security and employee disengagement. So again, 82% of CFOs said that hybrid work is a more affordable business model. So I think, more than likely it's safe to say it's here to stay. So 34% of middle market businesses plan to reduce or eliminate office space altogether in the next 12 to 24 months. So really, it is so important that you're investing in the right technology. Certainly, I think a lot of folks saw with the pandemic that they were scrambling. They didn't have access to their information. They couldn't process their AP. They couldn't cut their checks. And so I think everyone really learned from that. And going forward, they're going to be making strategic choices based on really a hybrid work environment and not being in the office every day. Employee engagement slump. So according to Gallup in 2021, employee engagement saw its first decline in a decade, and less than a third of employees were engaged in 2022. So amid loud layoffs from high-profile companies, and about a quarter or 26% of employees are regretting their participation in the Great Resignation. Workers are focusing on career cushioning, which is the act of learning new skills to be more marketable. Offering finance professionals upskilling opportunities through technology adoption could really help with talent retention by providing security, demonstrating value, and easing workload to help mitigate burnout from short-staffed teams. So really, if we look at why are employees disengaged, and this is definitely things that we hear, is lack of materials and equipment to do their jobs well, disconnection to the purpose or the mission of their organization. We talked about employees regretting their decision to participate in the Great Resignation. But unemployment rate has been holding steady at 3.5 to 3.7% since March of last year. And I think, basically what we can boil this down to is that folks are tired of doing manual tasks and, pushing paper. And in order for them to be engaged, they want to be able to, do more, and they want to be able to have technology that will support that. No one wants to push paper. So I think that, companies are really starting to understand that, and things like AP automation are starting to come to the forefront. Also, prioritizing health over hustle. So this winter, health experts are predicting a severe flu season paired with a surge in respiratory viruses, RSV, and COVID-19. So public health officials are calling this the triple-demic. With the mounting stress and overwhelm, especially for parents who need to juggle work while caring for sick kids, employees are now prioritizing their mental health more than ever, and they're placing importance on employers who support it when evaluating job opportunities. So adopting technology really helps give employees that flexibility to be able to care for themselves and others, which in turn helps prevent burnout and boost overall productivity. So if we look at the stats here, 81% of workers agree that mental health support is an important factor when considering job opportunities. Employees are also, as I mentioned earlier, looking for flexible work hours. They're looking for that hybrid role, and they want a workplace culture that respects time off and the ability to work remotely. And 71% of workers say that they're worried that compensation has not kept up with inflation. So one of our favorite sayings, doing more with less. So companies are looking for ways to do more with less to keep up with an increased volume of work, even while experiencing layoffs, staff turnover, or budget cuts. So technology features such as artificial intelligence or AI, OCR, and machine learning allow AP teams to do more with less by reducing those manual tasks and improving accuracy. And when you're talking about accuracy, it's really key when dealing with invoices and payments. Automatically capturing information, matching invoices to supporting documents, and coding invoices can reduce errors and inconsistencies from manual processes while saving valuable time. Accuracy really is the key. And we all know, and I mean, I've experienced firsthand back when I managed AP departments that, humans are prone to errors. So there's, transposing numbers when entering in an invoice number or even a dollar amount. So when you switch to technology, again, things like AI, OCR, machine learning, they can absolutely greatly reduce, all of those errors, the manual tasks, and it really can be life-changing. Having personally transitioned AP departments over to AP automation, really the transition is huge when it comes to creating efficiencies and also really taking your AP to the next level with regards to capturing that data correctly. In reporting, so obviously reporting empowers teams to be more strategic. Meaningful insights and data visualizations allow finance team to grow the business in new ways. So without automation technology and reporting tools, strategic initiatives often get pushed to the side in finance departments. Leaders tend to spend more time on transaction processing rather than things like department planning, staff training, business growth, or other managerial tasks that they were actually hired to perform. However, we found a top priority of middle market businesses over the next 12 months is growth. So having the ability to be able to scale, huge. And since adopting automation technology, survey respondents said that they can focus on analyzing data to make more informed decisions and identify opportunities to grow the business. So analyzing that invoice data, measuring invoice and payment workflows, and tracking purchase patterns can lead to better business decisions. So if you look here, 61% of finance teams always or very often rely on reports and analysis to inform business decisions. So it's so important to be able to have that critical information right at your hands. And that obviously it enables finance department to provide insights that really elevate the importance of their team. And strategic initiatives often get pushed to the side without automation technology and reporting tools. So just keep that in mind. Again, another important reason to consider the switch. And focusing on data protection, huge. So organizations that rely on manual processes for important financial transactions are exposed to more security risks. Did you know that 58% of companies surveyed have been the victim of a data breach or attempt in the last 12 months? And 40% indicated data protection and cybersecurity initiatives are a high priority. Rising cybersecurity threat and new state data protection laws are concerning for financial leaders because more malware, ransomware, and phishing scams can result in hefty financial losses or cause damage to a company's reputation. So as companies look to better protect themselves against security risks, payments remain a key area of concern. Automating, again, those risky manual invoicing and payment processes with cloud-based solutions can help finance departments better detect fraudulent threats by putting controls in place and adding visibility. Embracing modern AP technology helps protect sensitive financial information, giving key stakeholders the confidence that any security challenges will be minimized and processes will work without concern. And so some of the things that your AP team can start doing today is automating their invoice and payment process with a cloud-based solution, putting those controls in place to increase visibility, to better detect fraud, and offer supplier a safer payment method. E-payments instead of paper checks. Paper checks still remain the #1 payment method subject to fraud. So again, we're trying to move as many suppliers over from paper checks to e-payments, and Jack will elaborate on that a little bit more. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jack, who's going to talk about AP automation with AvidXchange. Take it away, Jack.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. So as we continue the conversation here about really trends that we're seeing in the marketplace and automating processes and really how that's going to impact you, now we'll talk a little bit about how AvidXchange can really help you as you move forward and really adapt and focus to really provide employees with tools that are going to make life easier and really support a lot of the data that we just shared. So just as a little bit of background on AvidXchange, I'm not going to belabor all the numbers and stats here. Couple things to point out here that are unique. Our API integrations continue to grow day by day to new accounting systems. In the Microsoft space, we have APIs with Dynamics GP, with Business Central. We have a file-based integration for Nav on-prem. And then our supplier network here is really the key number that I'm going to focus in on that we'll talk about today. But that 825,000 plus suppliers that you see listed there, what that really means for you is that we're going to help you convert your check payment process to a completely digital process without having to interrupt any type of automation that you've already got in place with your suppliers, whether they're taking a virtual card payment or they're taking a ACH payment today. What we do is actually really help to pay suppliers the way that they want to be paid. So our network continues to grow on a daily basis as we bring in new customers from new industries, new geographic locations, and onboard more suppliers. What we're also finding is that when we bring on a new customer, about 30 to 40% of their supplier base is already receiving payments electronically in the network. So that really helps to accelerate the adoption, and we have a continuous enrollment process that continues to work on that over time, not just the first, say, week or so that you go live on a new system. So we're continuously working with suppliers behind the scenes to increase that volume of suppliers that we have signed up in the network and also increase the percentage of those payments going out electronically. So if offloading check processing is a goal, we're going to help you do that at about 3 times the rate of our competitors. So when you talk about automating AP, obviously we talked a little bit about some of the kind of anecdotal scenarios that bring up automation as a key to growing a business, whether it's attracting talent or retaining talent, or providing more timely insights and visibility to information that's needed from a reporting standpoint. You're going to really be able to improve visibility and control. There's no more black hole of email where invoices go to get lost and accounting ends up being the ones responsible for chasing down all the AP approvals, making sure that information gets back to them in a timely fashion. Being able to record information at month-end closing as well. So having access to information to more efficiently manage accruals, to be able to close the books faster and spend less time on the individual manual tasks that are involved in that process today, really freeing up time so that you can provide more insightful reporting and have more up-to-date information with real-time access to data. The efficiency gains that you can achieve are really going to help you to reduce about 60% of the processing time that's associated with your manual AP process today. So by allowing the technology to capture data and initiate the approval process, you're really saving time for tasks that are repetitive in nature and really mundane and subject to human error. So getting better efficiency is going to help you to justify implementing automation by being able to calculate cost savings, but then also providing you with the ancillary benefits of having a more efficient process and utilizing that time better. And that really means that the cost of being able to process an AP transaction is going to go down significantly while there's technology involved. We're also going to be able to offset the cost of implementing a solution like this. As we increase the percentage of payments going out electronically, rebates can be generated and shared back with our customers that help to reduce costs. So if you're thinking about your plans for growth and you don't have maybe the bandwidth to add additional resources, it's probably time to look at automating and implementing some of those types of efficiencies so that you can do more with the staff that you have on hand, as we kind of talked about earlier. So specific to the AvidXchange platform, when we talk about automating accounts payable, what we usually are finding is that there's some level of manual touch points at each one of these stages that you see here in this diagram. So all the way from the time an invoice comes through the front door in the mail or comes into your email inbox, it has to get shuffled through the organization to get to the right department to approve. You may have coding that needs to take place by the department or by the accounting staff, and that may need to get reviewed as part of the approval process. And then someone's got to enter that data into the accounting system. Once that gets entered into the accounting system, then you're selecting what your payments are that are due, and then having typically several processes to issue payments. You might have payments that are going on a corporate card today. You might have check payments, and then there might be payments where you're already processing those electronically, but you have to handle every single one of those individually and manually. So this bottom section here is really kind of what the steps are that you're going to still maintain control and visibility to when you automate the entire life cycle of AP, where you'll still have control over how bills are coded, all of the approvals, and authorizing which payments are going out. What we're doing is automating all of those steps in between that require manual intervention or repetition in looking or touching the same information over and over. So what we've done is really created a solution that's going to help to centralize how all invoices come into the organization and get distributed through your internal approval channels. So we can take information from invoices that come in to the physical mail and set up a PO box to receive those invoices to. If a lot of invoices already come in electronically, email is probably the most common method of delivering invoices today. We can accept those through an email inbox, and you can always upload invoices that you might have to download from a vendor's website right into the system. We're capturing the header level information through our data extraction process, and we're actually validating that against your vendor master from the accounting system and your chart of accounts. So in the case where you have information that is pertinent based on how that vendor is set up in the accounting system, like for example, what their default coding might be, or what category of vendor that falls under, and that may dictate where it goes for approval, you'll be able to build in all of those various rules into the process so that the system knows based on that invoice where it needs to go and who needs to approve it. We can also facilitate 2- and 3-way PO matching. So anytime there are purchase orders that are referenced on the invoice, we can use the information from the accounting system to facilitate that match and eliminate having to scrutinize every single PO related invoice and just kick out the exceptions into approval workflows, allowing the rest of the invoices to process directly to your accounting system. So our integration is really running behind the scenes through an API that's going to sync the data from your accounting system into AvidXchange so we can build a valid AP transaction that can post right into the accounting system without you having to retouch it. So really what you'll be able to do is get the invoices automatically into the workflow to the appropriate people, and then have those follow any of your internal controls around approvals and seamlessly create the transactions in the accounting system without having additional manual intervention. So your accounting team moves from really directing traffic on where those invoices are going to having full control over making sure that approvals are obtained, any coding that they need to intervene and take action on is applied, and then also being able to set up rules for repetitive types of invoices. They don't have to scrutinize or touch that invoice the same way every month if it's going to be coded the same, or maybe we have bills that are going to be processed on the same date every month. From a payment processing perspective, you can also implement the pay authorization workflow. So people that may be on the go and need to sign off on payments from a mobile device or from anywhere that they may be operating from, they'll have full visibility to all the history behind the invoice approval. They can select which bills are ready to pay. They can schedule payments to go out at a future date and time as well to meet the turnaround time needed. So if there's maybe payments that aren't due for a few weeks, but you want to schedule those and approve them now, you can easily set those up for payment processing. And then all the cleared payment data is flowing back into the system and getting posted into the accounting system. So you're really streamlining that end-to-end process with all of the tools that AvidXchange is providing you. So first thing we can do is capture all of that header level information. We'll receive the invoices for you, so you can eliminate having to scan and forward invoices to approvers. Vendors can send invoices directly to our email inbox or directly to our PO box, where we'll actually digitize the invoice information and populate the transaction. You're always going to have side-by-side visibility to the invoice, so anything that needs to be added to the AP transaction that might be listed on the invoice, maybe in the descriptive information, you're going to have available at your fingertips. We're going to go ahead and talk about how the invoices that are received can be processed. And then there's also the ability to upload invoices directly into the system. So you're going to have the ability for anyone that's going to need to have access to that invoice activity to be included in the workflow, or to have reporting and historical visibility to all of the details. By having all of the approvals captured in one place, this becomes a central repository for all of your audit purposes. When you have an auditor that's requesting to see, the authorization of a payment or the approval of an invoice, all of that information is now going to be available to approvers during the approval process. You're going to have visibility to all that activity, and then it comes together in a neat package where you can just simply run a report, select what type of information you want to output, and you can see a copy of the invoice, the audit trail, and any of the proof of payment information if need be as an auditor. So this becomes your central repository for all of that information that today might require you to go to a file cabinet, to go to your email, and to pull data out of the accounting system. It's really the one-stop shop for all the AP activity. When it comes to processing payments, you're always going to have the ability to control the payment approvals, to implement additional rules like having multiple signers on a payment, and also having the ability for any of those payments to be issued to the AvidPay network. So in the case where we're going to have the ability to capture all of the payment activity that's taking place through a single interface, what we're going to do is really capture all that proof of payment information as well. So you'll have one place to go to see the details of your payment activity and easily be able to push that visibility out to people in the field or the department level. So an approver who is responsible for IT might not typically have visibility to payment activity in the accounting system, but they can now see that a bill that they had approved last week has been paid and have that level of visibility, so they don't have to field questions from a vendor and then play the middleman between the accounting team and the communication with the vendor and have delayed responses because people are always working on things. And finally, from an integration standpoint, we're also going to facilitate that integration through APIs, so we can automatically sync vendor record updates, new GL accounts, any type of purchase order activity generated in the accounting system we can pull in, and that will allow for us to validate the details from the invoice and create a transaction that you don't have to touch again when it hits the accounting system. So following all of your internal business rules and controls are going to really be the key thing. From a security standpoint, as a publicly traded company, we have all of the required security that you would expect, from having SOC reporting to having multi-factor authentication to control user access. You're going to have a wealth of resources built into our platform that are going to help to maintain the security and integrity of your data. So now we're coming to the poll questions section of the webinar today, along with some Q&A from the audience. So I'm going to hand it back over to Angie and see if we've got any questions from the audience that we want to address today.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, we do have a few questions that came in, so I will get those addressed now. The first one is there a limit to the number of users?
Good question. So unlike most ERP systems and their pricing models, there is no actual user license component. Even though you can set up unique user roles and rights and responsibilities, you can have an unlimited number of users. So for all of the people that need to be involved in the approval, to all the people in finance, to your auditors, they can all have access.
Okay, thank you. And another question we had is, how long would it take to implement?
So the solution can get up and running fairly quickly. So if one of your goals is to really have something implemented, early in the year to automate AP, or you're trying to, backfill with automation, any type of turnover, we can get you up and running in, about 6 to 8 weeks. If you're looking at just the pay side of the process, that can come up much quicker. But you're really looking at, probably within a quarter implementation. If you're looking to get up and running quickly, we can certainly map that out for you and make sure that you're up and running by your desired go live time.
Okay, thank you. And another question was, do we have the ability to set up workflows with specific approvers for different types of invoices?
Yes, so there's a lot of flexibility in how the workflows can be driven in the system. You could set up, for example, to address that question, a category of vendors. So you might have IT related vendors, you might have another group of vendors that are HR related vendors, others that might be more operational and specific to certain departments. But by having categories, you can then set up a rule based on the category and not have to set that rule for every vendor that might need that person's approval.
Okay, great. I believe those are all the questions that we have for you guys today. Oh, hang on 1 second. There is a question that just came through. I am a BC SaaS. What type of BC license is required for an approver?
So the great news is that there is no BC licensing required for an approver in our system. We basically function as a front end to the AP module in BC. So if you're not even set up as a user in BC, you can still have access as an approver to sign off during the invoice approval in our system. So that's what makes it very scalable for folks that are maybe not set up to access the accounting system, but need visibility to approve or code the invoice.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Rhonda and Jack, for the presentation, and thank you everyone who attended, or if you are watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us.
All right, well, appreciate everyone's time today, and as we mentioned earlier, any questions to reach out to AvidXchange or follow up with Angie and the Innovia team, and we'll be happy to get back with you with any additional information or take you on a product tour if you want to see the solution.
Well, you can also check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. We do have our training workshop page up, and that's innovia.com/workshops. We have a variety of workshops to fit your role, so check out the ones that are right for you and your team. And if you haven't heard the latest Innovia Conversation podcast, we have a library of episodes for you to listen to, and you can learn more on our podcast page, and that's innovia.com/podcast. So browse through our selection and subscribe so you'll get notified when those new episodes air. And we have our customer conference information on our website. You can visit our conference page at innovia.com/conferences. The Innovia Customer Conference is a free event for you to attend, so check out that page to learn more and register for our event. And you can also register for DynamixCon Live. Both conferences are back-to-back at the same venue starting on May 21st in Scottsdale, Arizona. So register now so you don't miss out on these great events. And AvidXchange will also be in attendance at our conference, so you can meet them in person and talk to them more about your specific issues and system issues that you have. All right, well, thank you again, Jack and Rhonda, for the presentation. And thank you everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another Innovia webinar. Take care, everyone.